So, Jamaica, most of this show, we focused on the JCF, Jamaica Constabulary Force, and some of the challenges and the stress that some of our officers are facing. So earlier on as well, we talked about the order of life. There's love, there's relationship, there's health, and there's goodness, and there's another side to every story. So we invited a very beautiful friend of ours, Licia Gay Taylor. She's the wife of a police officer. So we want to talk about the unimaginable level of emotional stress that wives and husbands of law enforcement officers may have to deal with. So we invited her, and she's with us on the line. Good morning, Licia.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am good today, as well as can be under the circumstances.
Wow. Listen, let me just start up and talk about how are you, your family, and your husband feeling about the current situation with the officers who have been murdered by citizens?
Oh, I mean, it is always just a very sad and stressful situation for especially me when I hear that, police officers have been attacked. I feel like our police officers as well as our healthcare workers are among the best of us. They take care of us. They're always in the front line of duty, and they don't always get the appreciation and respect they deserve, especially police officers who, just because of the history of how the police force came about, are always placed in a position of confrontation with the public. And so I am always very saddened and really stressed when I hear about police officers being attacked or police officers being killed, because it's a really sad experience for everybody who is involved. I think I am probably more stressed out about the situation. My husband tries to stay strong, and he is obviously trying to not have us go off on the edge, especially because he knows I'm a warrior. But I know it impacts everybody, including our family as well.
That's so true. Now, you're not a private couple, so I'm going to acknowledge your husband, who may be watching you in another room, Mr. Garfield Taylor, who is also in the force. You're all over social media. You've been all over the front page and the social pages. So you're quite a popular couple. So let's get into it. What is it like being married to a police officer?
I don't know if it's any different from being married to anyone else, but it's an interesting experience for me, mostly because I always said I would never marry a police officer. So I started there. And then I ended up being married to a police officer. I always said no police officer, no soldiers, never, no. But then you can't help who you fall in love with, right?
Right.
And here we are 8 years later, going 9. So
I
guess there is something working.
There is something working. And you have a beautiful daughter, the product of your union. But let me ask you, is it that you all met when he pulled you up and gave you a traffic ticket? I mean, is that the truth behind that story?
No, not at all. We actually met back in university. We weren't a couple then, but my husband studied econ, and I was doing politics and English at the time, and we knew each other since then. We weren't a couple, and then somewhere later on in life, we met and formed a relationship. So I've known him since our university days.
Right. There you go. Now, I know what you're saying when you say, I would never marry a police. I've heard a lot of my friends say that as well, or a soldier, because maybe it's the danger of the job and other challenges. But do you ever find it hard, and do you worry, you think, more than other women, that when he goes out there in the line of duty, that he may not come back, especially when we see what's happening with the security forces and the citizens? Do you feel sometimes that it's just a little too dangerous?
Yes, and yes. I mean, for a good portion of my marriage, my husband was in charge of operations for Kingston West, which I think is one of the most volatile divisions. And then he was also in Clarendon, which is also a pretty dangerous place. And when you are in charge of operations, you are definitely, I mean, you have your frontline officers, but you are a part of that process. You would be going in on operations. There are days when he would put on his full suit and bulletproof vest and all, and he's leaving. There are nights when that would happen. And of course, you worry about, is he going to come home? Is he going to come home safe? I remember once when he was on an operation in which I think his rank may have changed by no, but I think he was Superintendent Bench got shot, and my husband was right behind him. And when he came home, there were marks, the burn from the bullets in his uniform, which was damaged as a result of it. That's how close he was to what was happening. So you are always dreading that somebody is going to call you and tell you something, or he's going to call and say something. It's just something you live with when your husband is in that particular position. And I'm very grateful that he has changed his role in recent times, now being Director of Property Management Division. But he has been in that space for a lot of time. And again, as a police officer, I think you are always on duty no matter what role you are in. You are always facing danger. There is always the possibility that you're going to be in a confrontation.
Right. And that leads me to my next question. You know, imagine you have this great date night set up, and you are on the way to dinner, all dressed up in that beautiful dress, perfume well done. We know how you do it, makeup done, hair done. And you're about to sit down at the restaurant and order, and he gets a call to leave.
I'll give you one better story than that. I remember we were driving home, and this has happened more than once. We have been driving home already, and from a pretty long journey too, and we literally were driving past a couple that was in the heat of a fight in the middle of the road. There were crowds gathered. There was this girl who looked like she was about to be battered. And needless to say, I did not get home until the wee hours of the morning because my husband would not drive past it. He had to stop, he intervened. We had to take the young lady to a police station. There were statements, and then we had to make sure that she was protected for the night. And so I didn't think we got home until, when I reached home, the sun was up. And that was supposed to be a 5-minute ride home. So there's so many situations in which what you planned for the night turned out to be something else. And I think that's one of the reasons why my husband has a mantra of you only live once, and he tries to enjoy his life when he gets the opportunity to do so. Because to be quite frank, you never know what is going to happen and what your next moment will bring.
All right. Thank you for sharing with us a little bit of a beautiful side. We're always hearing negative things as well about the police. So it's nice to get into the family and hear about healthy relationships, healthy families. And one more question before I leave. What about stress management? I know the police are under a lot of stress. Does the force provide for most of the officers, do you know, or the families, some kind of therapy to deal with the stress?
Well, I know that within the force they have counselors. I know they also have opportunities to reach out to different counselors for their different areas based on what is happening. Everybody deals with stress differently, and that's why for us, it's important that our family remains a happy place, that our home is a haven away from everything that happens on the outside. It should be an oasis. My husband enjoys, going out socializing with his friends, spending time with his family. So it's depending on how you manage that. And my role in the process is also trying to be supportive, to understand when he's going through particularly stressful situations and to see how I support that, and to make sure that her home is a place that he wants to come home to unwind and to forget about everything else that's happening on the outside. So family, have a role to play in supporting police officers as well as the force itself. And I'm glad that they seem to be stepping into a more modernized way of looking at things and supporting their officers and providing better welfare. And so that will go a far way, of course, in boosting the morale of the police force and police officers and their families.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Send my love to your family and to
I
your
will.
and to the police officer, your husband, Mr. Taylor, who keeps you fit. I'm glad he's staying fit because there's a joke, you know, say,
It's working out.
yeah, I know. There's this joke that enough Jamaican police have big belly and thing, and they say you need to have guts to live in Jamaica. But we know that your husband is staying fit and keeping you fit. Listen, there are more questions I would ask woman to woman, but that's an after dark conversation about being married to a police officer. So we'll do that another time. Licia Gay Taylor, wife of the police officer. You saw the pictures right there. We just wanted to get another side of the story, a beautiful side of the story, being married to a police officer. Thanks, Licia.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all our police officers.
That's right. Wishing them a safe journey today as they head out to, head out in the line of duty to protect and to serve. Up next, my people, we head to Portland. And I was in Portland on the weekend. We got my great host family. I love Boston. I just love Portland Beach. It was so much fun. Anyway, so we're going to go to Portland, not physically, but we're going to go and check in with a young achiever. We'll soon come. Mr. Bell will be back.